Man, I never thought that accepting a ride at 11 p.m. would change my life forever. The passenger who got into my car wasn't just some crazy guy trying to pitch me a get-rich-quick scheme. He was the CEO of the biggest financial pyramid in the country. And the worst part? When the FBI surrounded my car, I found out I had become an unwitting accomplice. But hold on, the story gets a lot crazier than that. All right, let me tell you something that happened to me that you won't believe. Seriously, it sounds like a movie script, but I swear on my kids' health it's all true. My name is Mike, I'm 35, and I've been a rideshare driver for about 4 years now. It's not an easy life, especially after I split up with my ex, Christine. Child support for the kids, rent, a financed car. The bills just never stop. But what can you do? At least it's honest work. That day, it was a Tuesday. I remember it well. I was thinking of calling it a night early. I had already been driving for about 10 hours, and I was dead tired. I'd only gotten a few crummy fares during the day, a bunch of $8, $12 rides. You know how it is, right? Barely enough to cover gas. I was just sitting there at a gas station on a main street, drinking some stale coffee and thinking about life, when the app made that little ding sound. I looked at my phone and almost spat out my coffee. A $180 ride from the city to the airport. Man, for me, that was like hitting a mini jackpot. I thought, with this money, I can pay the electric bill that's due tomorrow and still have some left over. I accepted it immediately, of course. Who would turn down a ride like that? I got to the address in about 15 minutes. It was a ridiculously fancy building, the kind with doormen in suits and marble everywhere. I messaged through the app. Hey, this is Mike, your driver. I'm downstairs. It took about 5 minutes for him to show up. When I saw the guy coming down, I thought, whoa, this guy has money. A dark blue suit that looked expensive, shiny Italian shoes, hair all slicked back with gel. He must have been about 40, tall, good-looking, one of those guys you see on the cover of Forbes magazine. Good evening, Mike, he said, opening the back door with a big smile. John, pleasure to meet you. I thought it was strange that he knew my name without me saying it, but then I remembered it shows up on the app. The guy had cologne on that had to cost more than my salary, I swear. He sat in the back and immediately started talking. Man, what a nice car. A Civic, right? What year? 2018, I replied, a little awkwardly. The car was clean, but next to this guy, I felt like a charity case. Excellent. I've always admired people who hustle, man. How many hours a day do you work? I thought it was a little invasive, but he seemed like a good guy. We talked about work, traffic, and all that stuff. He was super friendly, you know? One of those guys who makes you feel important. We left the city and headed toward the airport. Traffic was light for that time of night, so I figured it would be about a 2-hour drive. I thought, at least I'll have good company. That's when the conversation started getting interesting. Mike, tell me something, he said, leaning forward a little. Are you satisfied with this life as a rideshare driver? Well, man, it's honest work. I can't complain. Of course. But what about your dreams? Don't you want more? A home of your own, to travel with your family, to give your kids a better education? I swallowed hard. How did he know I had kids? Oh, it must have been a guess. The wedding ring on my finger, their picture on the rear-view mirror. Of course I want more, I said. But what can you do? It's a tough situation for everyone. Man, can I be totally honest with you? He put his hand on my shoulder. You seem like a smart, hard-working, honest guy. The kind of person I'm looking for. What do you mean? Look, I work in investments. I don't just invite anyone into my circle, you know? But you, I don't know. You give off a good vibe. I started to get suspicious. I'd heard this speech before. A brother-in-law, a co-worker. There's always someone with a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But the guy was so polite, so convincing. What kind of investment? I asked, more out of politeness than anything. A revolutionary system, man. Something that's changing people's lives. Want to see something? He pulled out his phone, a brand new iPhone. He opened what looked like a banking app. Oh my God! There was $847,000 in the account. I almost crashed the car. Wow, man, is that yours? Just a little bit. He laughed, as if having nearly $1 million in a checking account was normal. Last week I took out 200 grand just to buy a present for my wife. A trip to Dubai. My jaw dropped. Dubai. I had never even been out of the state. And this guy was spending 200 grand on a trip like he was buying a loaf of bread. How did you get this? I asked, already a little hypnotized. Patience, my friend. First, let me get to know you better. Do you have kids? I have two, a boy and a girl. How old? 8 and 10. Private school? No, public. I can't afford private. He shook his head, as if he felt sorry for me. Man, your kids deserve the best, don't they? A quality education, swimming lessons, summer camp. How much do you make a month driving? I felt embarrassed to answer. On good months, about 3,000. On bad ones, barely 2. Between 2 and 3,000, I mumbled. Oh my God! He seemed genuinely shocked. Man, with all due respect, but that's barely enough to live on these days. Do you pay rent? I do. Child support? How did you know I pay child support? Simple deduction, man. A wedding ring on your finger, but you live alone. Separated, right? I've been there myself. Man, this guy was sharp. Yeah, I split up 2 years ago. And it's tough, right? Bills here, bills there. Just between us guys. And that's when I made my first mistake. I spilled my guts. I talked about the debt, the child support that ate up half my salary, the dream of owning my own home, of giving the kids a better life. The guy was a psychologist, man. He knew exactly what to ask to make me vulnerable. Mike, can I show you how I changed my life? He said, with that voice of someone who really wants to help. Go for it. 3 years ago, I was just like you. I worked at a furniture store in the suburbs. I made a meager salary, barely got by, until a friend introduced me to a system. He started telling a rags-to-riches story that seemed too perfect to be true. How he invested the first $500 he had in savings. How in 6 months, he was already making $5 grand a month. How in 1 year, he bought his own house. And today, he showed his phone again. I'm like this. You know how much I made just last month? How much? $180,000 net. I almost slammed on the brakes. $180,000 in 1 month. That was more than I made in 5 years. Man, what kind of investment is that? Calm down, calm down. Let me explain how it works. That's when he started to lay out the scheme. He talked about a global system, artificial intelligence, the American financial market. Fancy words I didn't really understand, but they sounded professional. The best part of all, he said, is that you don't need to understand anything about investments. The system does everything for you. You just need to trust and let the money work. We passed by a few towns, and I was totally hooked on the conversation. The guy spoke with so much authority, showed so much evidence. But how much do you need to start? I asked. Well, normally the minimum investment is 10 grand. But for you, I like your vibe. I can get you a special deal. 5,000. My heart sank. 5 grand was exactly what I had in my savings account. The money I had been saving for 6 months for an emergency. That's a lot of money for me, I said honestly. Mike, he laughed. How much did you spend on gas today? About 80 bucks. And how many days do you have to work to save up 80 bucks? I did the math. About 3 days. 3 days, I replied. So you work 3 days to earn what you spend in one. Does that make sense? I didn't answer. Now tell me, if you invest that 5 grand today, and in 30 days you get back 15 grand, how many months do you have to work driving to earn 15 grand? 5 months. I answered automatically. Exactly. You'll make in 1 month what would take you 5 months of driving. That's not even counting the wear and tear, the stress, the time away from your family. The math was too tempting, but something inside me still resisted. How do I know it's not a scam? He laughed out loud, as if I had made a joke. Man, do you think I'd be spending 180 bucks on a ride if it was a scam? Look at my clothes, my cologne, my phone. Scammers don't live like this. It made sense. Besides, he continued, do you know anyone who lost money on a legitimate investment? I thought of my uncle, who had a few shares in some company and was always complaining about no returns. My uncle has stocks, but he never makes anything. Stocks are a thing of the past, man. What I'm showing you is cutting-edge technology, artificial intelligence, analyzing millions of data points per second to make the best investments. We were getting close to the airport when he dropped the bomb. Mike, I'm gonna be straight with you. I like you, man. Seriously. And because of that, I'm going to make you an offer I've never made to anyone else. My heart started beating faster. If you agree to join the system today, he said, looking at me in the rearview mirror, I'll put you on my direct team. You know what that means? No. That in addition to your normal earnings, you'll get a commission for every person you bring into the system. And man, knowing rideshare drivers like I do, you guys have an incredible network. It was true. We meet all kinds of people. How much would the commission be? 30% of whatever they invest. If you bring someone who invests 10 grand, you make 3 grand right away. Holy cow, 3 grand on the spot. And there's more, he continued. The people that you and your recruits bring in, you also earn a percentage from them. It's like a network, you know? That's when I started to sweat. A network? Wasn't that how those pyramid schemes on the IG news worked? But the guy was so convincing. He showed so much evidence. And that money in his account wasn't fake. It was the official banking app. We were almost at the airport when I noticed something strange in my rearview mirror. A white sedan had been following us for about 20 minutes, always at the same distance, always making the same turns we did. John, I said, a little nervously, I think a car is following us. He looked through the back window and let out a small laugh. Relax, man. It's probably a coincidence. A lot of people go to the airport at this time. But I had a bad feeling. A very bad feeling. If you've ever been in a tough financial spot, you'll perfectly understand what was going through my head at that moment. The temptation was too great. But that car following us? It was just the beginning of a night that would turn my life inside out. Man, after I mentioned the car that was following us, John changed the subject real quick. But I kept my eye on the rear view mirror. The white sedan was still there, keeping the same distance. Coincidence, my butt. Mike, forget about that car, man, John said, as if he had read my mind. Let's get back to what matters, your financial future. He leaned forward, resting his arms on the passenger seat. I could smell his expensive cologne filling the whole car. Let me show you something that will open your mind. He pulled out his phone again, but this time he opened a different app. It was like a dashboard full of graphs, numbers going up and down, stuff that looked very professional. "This is the system in real time," he said proudly. "See these numbers? Each one represents an investor in the network. Take a look." He clicked on a line that showed Marina S., $15,000 invested. Current return, $47,500. Marina joined the system 2 months ago with 15 grand. Today, she already has almost 48 grand in her account. In 2 months, man, she more than tripled her money. Damn, I'd been driving like a maniac. For 2 years, to make 48 grand. How is that even possible? I asked, trying not to sound too desperate. Artificial intelligence, my friend. The system analyzes millions of operations in the American and European markets, identifies patterns that the human eye could never see, and makes the trades at the right time. He scrolled through the screen and showed other examples. Every name that appeared there had multiplied their money by 3, 4, sometimes even 5 times. Rodrigo B. invested 8 grand. Today he has 31 grand. Carla M. put in 12 grand. She's got 58 grand in her account. And so on. I was hypnotized, man. Those numbers dancing in front of me. The possibility of changing my life. It was addictive. But how do you get those results? I insisted. Something inside me was still suspicious. Look, I'll explain it to you in a simple way. He leaned back in the seat, like a teacher ready to give a lecture. You know the stock market, right? More or less. So, imagine you could know with 90% certainty if a stock is going to go up or down in the next 5 minutes. Wouldn't you get rich real fast? Of course. Exactly. And what if, on top of that, you could use not just your money, but money borrowed from the bank to multiply your earnings? What do you mean? Leverage, man. You invest 5 grand, but the system operates as if it were 50 grand. If it makes a profit, you earn 10 times more. It's pure math. It sounded a little risky, but the guy spoke with so much confidence. And what if it loses money? Impossible, he laughed. The system has an accuracy rate of 89.7%, and in the rare cases that it's wrong, there's a protection mechanism. You never lose more than 2% of your initial investment. We passed a few more towns, and he kept hammering away. He showed me screenshots of WhatsApp conversations with other investors, all of them celebrating their gains. He showed me articles online about artificial intelligence in the financial market. He even showed me a YouTube video of a famous guy talking about the future of investments. Man, it was too convincing. And I was there, driving my financed 2018 Civic, thinking about the $2,800 I made last month. "Mike, can I be honest with you?" he said, changing his tone to something more intimate. "Sure. You seem like a guy who deserves more. Seriously, I've known people for 20 years, and I can tell when someone has potential. You do. Damn, no one had ever said that to me before. In school, I was average. At work, I was always just another guy. Even my ex-wife used to say I had no ambition. The problem is, you're stuck in a small mindset," he continued. "You're sitting there, counting pennies, working 12 hours a day for crumbs, when you could be making in 1 month what you make in a whole year. But what if it goes wrong?" I asked. "That 5 grand is all I have." Man, I'll tell you something I learned in life. Poor people are afraid to take risks, and that's why they stay poor. Rich people take calculated risks and get richer. That hurt, but it made sense. You know what the difference is between us? He pointed to himself and then to me. 3 years ago, when I saw this opportunity, I didn't think twice. I took the $500 I had, sold my TV, and invested everything. You know where I'd be if I had been afraid? Where? Selling furniture and earning $1,500 a month and complaining about life. The guy had a point, and those numbers on his phone didn't lie. Let me ask you a question, he said. How much do you need to feel financially secure? I thought for a bit. With child support, rent, bills, about 10 grand a month would completely change my life. 10 grand? He laughed. Man, in the system, 10 grand is what you make in a good week. I swallowed hard. In a week? Look here. He showed me the screen again. This is Raphael, a rideshare driver just like you. He joined the system in January with 3 grand. Guess how much he made just in March? I saw the E. Name on the screen, Raphael C. Monthly earnings, $28,500. Almost 29 grand in 1 month, he exclaimed. The guy quit Uber, bought a brand new car, and is paying for private school for his kids. And he started with less money than you have. My head was spinning. 29 grand in 1 month was what I made driving for almost a whole year. John, how do I know this is real? How do I know these screenshots aren't fake? He sighed, as if he was tired of always having to prove the same thing. Fair. Enough. I'm going to do something I don't normally do. He took out his phone and called someone. He put it on speakerphone. Hello, Marina. It's John. How are you? Hi, John. I'm great. Oh, you won't believe it. I just cashed out another 15 grand. I'm going to buy a motorbike for my son. I almost crashed the car again. It was the same Marina he had shown me on the screen. Marina, I'm here with a friend who's thinking of joining the system. Can you tell him how the experience has been? Oh, you can tell him it changed my life. I was a supermarket cashier, making minimum wage. Today, I make more in 1 week than I used to make in a whole month. I've already bought a house, a car. It's a blessing. Thanks, Marina. We'll talk later. He hung up and looked at me with that smile of someone who had just delivered a checkmate. Convinced? Man, how could I not be convinced? The woman was buying a motorbike for her son with money she pulled from the system. Okay, let's say I want to join, I said, a little shaky. How does it work? Simple. You make an initial deposit of 5 grand into the company's account. In 24 hours, your login is activated on the platform. Then you just watch the earnings roll in. And when can I withdraw? Anytime, man. There's no waiting period, no red tape. You want to take it all out today? You can. You want to leave it to grow some more? Leave it. It seemed too good to be true. And what about this part of recruiting other people? Now, his eyes lit up in a different way. Ah, that's the best part. Look, the system needs to grow, right? So they pay very well to those who help bring in new people. 30% commission on any amount the person invests. 30%? I did the quick math. If I bring someone who invests 10 grand, I make 3 grand? On the spot. And if that person brings in someone else, you also get 10%. It's like a network that multiplies. Man, the math was tempting. If I brought in 5 people, each investing 5 grand, like I was going to, I would make $7,500 just in commission. That was more than double what I was going to invest. What's the name of the company? I asked. Golden Pyramid International, an American company with an office here in the country. Everything's legit, registered with the SEC. Golden Pyramid. Why did that name sound familiar? You know it? He asked, noticing my expression. No. I just thought I'd heard of it before. Normal. The company is growing a lot. It was even in Forbes magazine last month. We were almost at the airport when he played his final card. Mike, I'm going to be frank with you. I don't normally do this, but I like you. If you decide to join today, I'll put you directly on my first-level team. What does that mean? I don't know. It means that in addition to the 30% commission from your recruits, you'll get 5% on everything I earn too. And man, I move a lot of money. He showed me his statement again. Monthly transactions, $2.3 million. 5%. Of that would be more than 100 grand for you, just in bonuses. 100 grand. That was more money than I had ever seen in my whole life combined. But why would you do that for me? Because you're going to help me grow the network here in the city. Rideshare drivers know everyone, go everywhere. You'd be like my right-hand man in the city. Man, I was completely hooked. My head was buzzing with possibilities. Imagine me showing up at my kid's house with 100 grand in the bank. Imagine me getting out of this Civic and buying a brand new car. Imagine me getting out of my rental and buying a house. So, he said, leaning forward again, are you in for this partnership? I was ready to say yes when I looked in the rearview mirror again. The white sedan was still there, but now there was another car with it, a black sedan. 2 cars following us? That wasn't a coincidence. John, I said, my voice a little shaky, there are 2 cars following us now. He looked back, and for the first time in the entire trip, I saw a look of worry cross his face. Crap, he muttered softly. What do you mean, crap? My heart pounded. John, what crap? But then he quickly composed himself, a smile returning. Nah, relax. It must be company security. Sometimes they do that when I'm transporting important documents. What documents? He patted the leather briefcase next to him on the seat. Contracts from new investors. Large amounts. The company can't afford to lose them. It made sense, I think. But I still had that sinking feeling in my gut. That's when something happened that chilled my blood. John pulled out his phone and typed a message. I managed to read it in a glance. Situation under control. Arriving in 40 minutes. Situation under control? What situation? And it was in that moment that I started to realize where I had heard of Golden Pyramid before. It was the name of the company that had ruined my brother-in-law. Golden Pyramid. Crap. How didn't I remember before? The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. My brother-in-law, Mark, my sister's husband, had been completely screwed over by a company with that name. It was about 2 years ago. The guy lost the 15 grand he had saved up for a down payment on a house. I remember thinking at the time that he was a little stupid for falling for a scam like that. How could anyone believe they're going to triple their money in 2 months? I thought. And now I was in the same boat. John, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. This Golden Pyramid, did it operate in the country before? Of course, man. A solid company. Why do you ask? I think I know someone who invested in it. I saw him stiffen up a little in the back seat. Just a little, but I noticed. Oh, yeah? And how was the person's experience? That's where the problem was. How was I going to tell him my brother-in-law had lost everything? John would just say it was Mark's fault, that he didn't understand the system, that he cashed out at the wrong time. These guys always have a ready-made excuse. Actually, I lied. He said it was good. I'm just trying to remember the details he told me. Great. The relief in his voice was clear. See? More proof that the system works. But now I had a bug in my ear. Was it the same company? It could just be a coincidence with the name, right? Golden, Pyramid, common names in the financial market. We were passing through another town when I decided to investigate a little more. How does it work? Exactly when a person wants to leave? I asked. Leave what? Like, if I want to withdraw all my money and stop investing. He took a few seconds to answer. I could tell he was choosing his words. Look, theoretically, you can leave at any time. But man, why would anyone want to leave a system that's making so much profit? But can you or can't you? You can. You can. It's just that, well, there's some paperwork. You have to give 30 days notice. You have to pay some withdrawal fees. Nothing big, but it's better to just let the money keep working. Withdrawal fees? 30 days notice? He hadn't mentioned that part before. What kind of fees? Oh, about 8% of the total amount, to cover operational costs. 8%! If I invested 5 grand and wanted to leave the next day, I'd lose $400 just in fees? John, you didn't mention these fees before. Man, that's a technical detail. It's in the contract. But relax, nobody wants to leave. People only want to put more money in. Mark had said exactly that at the time. That when he tried to take his money out, they came up with a bunch of fees, said the system was rebalancing, that he had to wait. I decided to press a little more. And what if there's a problem with the company? Like, if it goes bust or something? Now he was visibly annoyed. Mike, what's with this talk? The company has offices in Miami, London, New York. It moves billions of dollars. You think a company like that is going to go bust? No, that's not it. I'm just curious. Man, you have a very negative mindset. That doesn't work in the world of investments. You have to think big, believe in success. Negative mindset. Mark said the guy who sold him the scheme used those exact words. My memory started coming back in pieces. I remember my sister crying on the phone, saying that Mark had lost all the money. I remember him saying that the company vanished overnight. The website was down, phones weren't answered, the office was empty. But this couldn't be the same company, could it? John was right there, in a fancy suit, with a high-end phone, spending $180 on a ride like it was pocket change. John, I said, deciding to test him. How old is Golden Pyramid? About 8 years. Why? Whoa. If the company that ruined Mark was 2 years ago, and this one is 8 years old, then they must be different companies. Or, has it ever had a problem in the country? Like, did it ever stop operating and then come back? The question caught him off guard. I saw in the rearview mirror that he frowned. Problem? What kind of problem? I don't know. Legal issues, investigations, that kind of thing. Mike, he said, and the tone changed completely. It became more serious, colder. Why are you asking these questions? Did someone tell you something about the company? No, just curiosity. Because, look, he leaned forward, and this time it wasn't in a friendly way. In the world of investments, there are a lot of jealous people. People who lost money in other things and spread rumors about legitimate companies. The mood in the car changed completely. That friendly, convincing John had been replaced by a guy who was more threatening. I understand your caution, he continued, but be careful not to be influenced by frustrated people. You know the saying, those who can't win try to stop others from winning. That's exactly what the guy had told Mark when he started getting suspicious. That he was being influenced by negative people. Crap. It was the same company. I was sure now. The problem was that I was alone in a car with one of the guys from a financial crime syndicate on the road at night with 2 cars following us. And from the looks of it, he was starting to suspect that I knew something. Look, John, I tried to go back to a friendly tone. I'm sorry if it seemed like I was being suspicious. It's just a lot of money for me, you know? I have to be careful. He relaxed a little. Of course, man. I get it. It's natural to be wary. But trust me, you won't regret it. But now I couldn't pretend to be interested anymore. Every time he talked about investing, I remembered my sister crying. Every number he showed me, I thought about Mark having to sell his car to pay the bills. We passed by another town, and John went back to his motivational speech. But I wasn't really listening anymore. My head was focused on one thing. How do I get out of this situation? Because now I was sure it wasn't a coincidence that the cars were following us. And it also wasn't a coincidence that John had chosen my car for that ride. Mike, he said, interrupting my thoughts, I'm going to do something special for you. What? Since you're a little hesitant, I'll give you a personal guarantee. If in 60 days you haven't at least tripled your investment, I'll give you your money back myself, out of my own pocket. Tripled in 60 days. 15 grand. It was too tempting to be true. You'd do that? Of course. Because I know the system works. It's a win-win bet. That's when he made the mistake. He pulled out his wallet to show me he had the money to back up the guarantee. It was an expensive leather wallet, the kind that costs a fortune. But when he opened it, I saw something that chilled me. A plastic card fell to the floor of the car. He bent down quickly to pick it up, but I managed to see what was written on it. John Smith, Social Security number Tacture 66666. The problem was, on the app, his name appeared as John Jones. Different names. The guy was using a fake ID. "John," I said, my heart pounding, "I think you dropped something." No, I didn't drop anything," he replied, quickly putting the wallet away. Man, in that moment, it all clicked. I was in a car with a professional con artist, being followed by other criminals, probably taking him to some place where they held their meetings or something. And the worst part, they knew that I knew. Because at the exact moment I thought that, John said, "Mike, change of plans. We're not going to the airport." "What do you mean?" "I need to make a quick stop first. A business meeting. You don't mind, do you?" It wasn't a question. It was an order. "Where?" "A nearby exclusive neighborhood. Just about 20 minutes. A neighborhood full of gated communities. Isolated. Perfect for doing something bad without anyone seeing." I looked in the rearview mirror. The two cars were still there. And now, John had changed completely. He wasn't the friendly guy trying to convince me to invest anymore. He was the guy who was taking me somewhere where nothing good was going to happen. "John," I tried one last time, "I'd rather go straight to the airport. I have to work early tomorrow." He laughed, but it wasn't a good laugh. "Relax, Mike. It'll be quick. And after this meeting, I'm sure you'll want to invest not just the 5 grand, but everything you have." The way he said, "everything you have," sent a chill down my spine. Because now I was sure it wasn't going to be a business meeting. It was going to be a meeting where they were going to force me to hand over every penny I had in my life. Man, when John said he was going to force me to invest everything I had, I felt my soul leave my body. Literally. My hands started to sweat. My heart pounded. And for the first time in my life, I understood what real fear was. I got off the highway and onto the road that led to the gated community. The two cars were still following us, now closer. I could see they were serious guys. This was no game. "John," I tried to keep my voice steady. "Look, I'm reconsidering this investment thing. I don't think it's for me." He laughed that sarcastic laugh that gave me goosebumps. Mike, you still don't get it, do you?" "Get what?" "That it's no longer a choice." I felt a chill down my spine. "What do you mean it's not a choice?" He leaned forward, put his hand on my shoulder. But this time, it wasn't a friendly gesture. It was pure intimidation. "Man, you've heard a lot today. You know the system, you know the amounts, you know the procedures. You've become a liability." "What liability? I'm not going to tell anyone anything." "Oh, you're not?" He squeezed my collarbone. "And how can I be sure of that?" My mind was racing. I needed to get out of this situation, but I didn't know how. I was on the highway, surrounded by criminals, driving to a place that was definitely not going to end well. "Listen here, Mike," he continued, now in a lower, more dangerous voice. "I'm going to explain how this is going to work. When we get to the meeting, you're going to meet my associates. Very influential people, you understand? Okay, so what? And then they're going to make you an offer you can't refuse. What kind of offer? You're going to invest the $5,000 you have in savings, plus the $200 in your checking account. Plus, you're going to take out a loan on the clean credit you have. How did he know exactly how much I had in each account? My blood ran cold. How do you know how much I have? He showed me his phone. On the screen was a picture of my Social Security card, my driver's license, proof of residence. We always check out our drivers beforehand, Mike. You have clean credit, a good score. You can get a $50,000 loan easily. $50,000. The guy wanted me to go $50,000 into debt. You're crazy. I'm not taking out any loan. Yes, you are, he said calmly, because the alternative is much worse. What alternative? He didn't answer. He just made a gesture pointing to the cars behind us. Damn, man. I was officially kidnapped. There was no denying it anymore. John, please, I have 2 small kids. And that's exactly why you're going to cooperate. He smiled coldly. Family men always cooperate. They have a lot to lose. The threat was clear. If I didn't do what they wanted, my kids would pay. Look, he continued, it doesn't have to be complicated. You take the loan. You invest everything. In 60 days, you have double. You pay off the loan and still make a profit. Everyone wins. And what if it goes wrong? It's not going to go wrong, he said. But this time, the tone wasn't convincing. It was threatening. Because you're going to work to make sure it works out. What do you mean, work? You know a lot of rideshare drivers, right? Guys who are always broke, needing cash. Now I understood the whole scheme. They didn't just want my money. They wanted me to bring other drivers into the pyramid. You're going to be our recruiter for the drivers, he explained. Every person you bring in, you get a commission, but you also have a quota. A quota? 10 people a month. Minimum investment of $5,000 each. 10 people a month? $50,000. They wanted me to become a professional con artist just like them. And what if I can't meet the quota? His silence was the answer. We were getting to the neighborhood when he got a call. He answered on speakerphone. Arriving in 5 minutes, he said. Is the cargo behaving? A male voice asked from the other side. Cargo. They were referring to me as cargo. Calm, a little resistant at first, but he's cooperating now. Good. The office is ready. The doctor arrived 10 minutes ago. The doctor? What doctor? He hung up and put his phone away. Who's the doctor? I asked. Our lawyer. He's going to handle all the paperwork for the loans. Very efficient. Man, they even had a lawyer. It was a professional operation. We entered the gated community. The doorman didn't even ask for ID. He just waved at John. They were already known there. John, I tried one last shot. What if I offered you another deal? What deal? Instead of me investing, what if I just worked for you, without putting in my own money? Just recruiting people. He thought for a bit. Interesting, but no dice. Anyone who doesn't have skin in the game doesn't really try. You need to invest to have motivation. Skin in the game. As if he had read an extortion manual. We stopped at a big house, the kind you see in exclusive neighborhoods. There were about 4 cars in the driveway. BMW, Mercedes, Porsche. Money was no problem for them. We're here, he said, getting out of the car. But when I went to get out too, he put his hand on my arm. Oh, Mike, I forgot to tell you something important. What? If you try to run, or scream, or do anything stupid, well, you know where your kids go to school, right? He showed me his phone again. It had a picture of my kid's school, with today's date. Matt, 10 years old, 5th grade. Gets out at 5 p.m. Anna, 8 years old, 3rd grade. Gets out at 4:30 p.m. My world fell apart. They had investigated my kids. How did you get that information? Mike, we don't play around. When we choose someone to work with us, we do our homework. Work with us, as if I had a choice. Now, he continued, let's go inside and resolve this situation like civilized people. You sign the papers, you get the loans, you make the investments, and everyone is happy. Your kids stay safe in school. You get rich, we get rich. Win-win. Win-win my butt. This was pure extortion. But what could I do? Run? They knew where I lived, where my kids went to school. They probably even knew what brand of cereal they ate for breakfast. Just one more thing, he said, putting his hand on the doorknob of the house. Inside, there are some important people. Businessmen, politicians, influential people. If you try to act up or say something stupid or disrespect someone, well, you already understand the consequences. I walked into the house like a lamb being led to slaughter. The living room was ridiculously fancy. Leather sofa, marble table, expensive paintings on the wall. There were about 6 people inside, all in suits. Everyone, John announced, this is Mike, our new partner. They all looked at me like a piece of meat. Fake smiles, handshakes that lasted longer than normal. Mike, said an old man of about 60, with gray hair and golden glasses, welcome to our family. Family. That word made me sick. Sit here, he pointed to a chair in the middle of the room. Let's talk about your future. I sat down. I really had no choice. That's when I noticed something that made my heart stop. On the coffee table, there was a folder with my name on it, and inside it, copies of all my documents, driver's license, social security card, proof of income, bank statement. They had really done their homework. So, Mike, the old man with the golden glasses continued, John told me you're interested in changing your life. Actually, it's not interesting, he interrupted me. It's necessary. Because now that you know about our operation, there's no going back. Operation. At least they admitted it was a crime. Here are the contracts. He pushed some papers towards me. A $50,000 loan, an investment in Golden Pyramid, a non-disclosure agreement, and your contract as a recruiter. I looked at the papers. It was all there. They had even filled in my details. And what if I don't sign? The silence in the room was deafening. Mike, the man said calmly, you have beautiful children. That was it. He didn't need to say anything else. I picked up the pen with a trembling hand. Man, if you've ever been in a situation where you felt completely cornered, with no way out, you'll understand the desperation that took over me at that moment. I was about to sign my own death sentence, and my kids too. It was at that moment that we heard the sound of sirens outside. And they weren't ambulance sirens, they were FBI sirens. Man, when I heard those sirens, it was like an angel had come down from heaven. I swear to you, I've never been so happy to hear the sound of police in my life. The people in the room went into a total panic. The old man with the golden glasses jumped up, knocking papers all over the floor. John went white as a ghost. The other guys started running everywhere. Crap! One of them yelled. How did they find out? Calm down, calm down. The man tried to control the situation. It could be a routine traffic stop. But it wasn't a routine traffic stop. The sound was getting louder, closer, and now you could hear voices with a megaphone. FBI, secure the area. No one in, no one out. John looked at me with pure hatred. You son of a bitch, he growled. You set this up. I didn't do anything, I yelled back. How could I have set anything up if I've only been here for 10 minutes? You're an informant. An informant for what, you jerk? I didn't even know you guys existed until today. But he had already pulled out his phone and was dialing someone. Mark? It's John. We're surrounded here at the house. I need you to... What the hell is this? The line's busy? The guy was in total despair. He tried to call about 3 more numbers. None of them answered. Crap, 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 he repeated, pacing in circles. Then came the sound of the front door being smashed in. Boom! The sound echoed throughout the whole house. FBI, everyone on the ground, hands up. Man, I've never seen criminals run so fast in my life. The guys ran in every direction, like cockroaches when you turn on the light. One jumped out the backyard window, another tried to hide behind the sofa. The man with the golden glasses had a fit and kept yelling that he was innocent. I just stood there, hands up, not knowing if I should be happy or scared. Because, I hadn't done anything, but I was in the middle of a bunch of criminals. The federal agents came into the room like a hurricane. About 8 guys, all armed, bulletproof vests, the whole deal, total professionals. On the ground! Everyone on the ground! A sergeant yelled. I threw myself on the ground faster than I could think. I pressed my face against the cold marble of the living room and stayed quiet. They managed to catch everyone. John tried to jump the back fence, but there was an agent waiting on the other side. He came back in handcuffs, swearing in every language. "You're not going to get away with this," he yelled, looking at me. "I will find you." The sergeant kneed him in the ribs. "Shut up! You're not going to find anyone for the next 15 years. 15 years. Holy smokes. After they cuffed everyone, a detective came into the room. A tall guy, graying mustache. That serious look of someone who's seen it all. "Who's Mike Williams?" he asked, looking at a clipboard. "That's me," I said, raising my hand, still lying on the floor. "Get up. You're not under arrest." I slowly got up, still a bit in disbelief. The others looked at me with hatred. "Come with me," the detective said. "I need to talk to you." We left the room and went to the kitchen of the house. He offered me a chair and sat down in front of me. "Detective Smith, FBI," he introduced himself. "Are you okay?" "I'm alive," I replied, still shaking. "Good. Now tell me, how did you get involved with this crew?" I started to tell him everything from the beginning. The ride, the investment conversation, the threats, the documents with my kids' information. The detective wrote everything down in a notebook. Every now and then, he would ask a question, ask me to repeat a detail. "Mike," he said after I finished, "do you have any idea how big the operation we just dismantled is?" "I have no idea." He opened a folder and put some photos on the table. They were screenshots of spreadsheets, documents, bank statements. Golden Pyramid International, the biggest financial pyramid scheme ever discovered in this country. $800 million moved in 2 years. 800 million? Holy crap! How many victims? So far, we've identified 47,000 people from all over the country. Doctors, teachers, retirees, drivers like you. 47,000 people, and I almost became the 47,001st. How did you guys find out? We've been investigating for 6 months. Wiretaps, subpoenas, informants. The whole scheme. Informants. Could there really have been informants inside the group? And John? John Davis, known as Pyramid John. 43 years old, from the suburbs. He's been arrested 3 times for fraud. This time, he's not getting away with it. Pyramid John. Perfect nickname for him. The detective kept showing me documents. There were photos of meetings, lists of recruiters, the organization's hierarchy. It was a complete criminal enterprise. "Look at this," he showed me a spreadsheet. List of target drivers. I saw my name on the list. Mike Williams, Uber, Lyft, vulnerable profile, high priority. How did they get my data? A hacker. They bought information from a gang specializing in hacking rideshare apps, social security numbers, addresses, income, everything. That's why John knew so much about me. Mike, the detective became serious. I need you to understand something. You weren't chosen by chance. They studied you for weeks before making the offer. Studied? Me? How? He showed me another folder. It had photos of me driving, of my house, of my kids leaving school. My blood ran cold. They had a complete dossier on you. Schedules, routes, financial difficulties, marital separation, psychological profile. Psychological profile. These guys were like the American FBI. But why me? Because you fit the perfect victim profile. Male, 30 to 40 years old, family man, lower middle class, with debts, but still clean credit. In other words, I was the perfect target. And there's more, he continued. They didn't just want your money. They wanted to turn you into a recruiter. Rideshare drivers know a lot of people. They go everywhere. John had said the exact same thing. If it had worked, you would have brought in dozens of other drivers, each one bringing in more people. In 6 months, they would have multiplied the network by 10. Wow. I was going to become a key player in the scheme without even knowing it. The detective closed the folders and looked me in the eyes. Mike, you were very lucky. Very lucky. How did you know I was here today? We've had a wiretap on John's phone for 2 months. When he called confirming that he was bringing the cargo, we activated the operation. Cargo. Until the end, I was treated like an object. So what now? I asked. Now you're going to give a full deposition. Every conversation, every detail, every threat. Your testimony will help to convict this whole crew. It crossed my mind that maybe it would be better to keep quiet, not get involved in this anymore. But then I remembered the 47,000 victims, people who lost their homes, their cars, their life savings. I'll cooperate, I said, determined. Good. But you need to know that it won't be easy. They have expensive lawyers. They'll try to discredit your testimony, maybe even threaten you. Threaten me how? The detective became serious. Mike, you're going to be a key witness in an $800 million operation. There's a lot of money at stake, and people with a lot of money have the resources to, let's just say, silence witnesses. Silence witnesses, meaning kill me. But we'll give you protection, he quickly added. A witness protection program, a change of identity if necessary. A change of identity. My kids, my job, my life, everything was going to change. We left the house and went to the FBI office. On the way, I saw the cars that had been following me. They were all FBI cars too. From the beginning, I had been protected without even knowing it. At the office, I gave my deposition for 4 hours. I told them every detail, every conversation, every threat. The clerk typed everything, word for word. When I finished, it was almost 6 a.m. I was dead tired, but relieved. Mike, the detective said, walking me to the exit, you did the right thing. But now, the hard part begins. What part? He handed me a card with a phone number. If anything strange happens, any suspicious person shows up in your life, you call me. Immediately. I took the card and put it in my pocket. One last thing, he said, before I left. You're not a victim in this story, Mike. You're a hero. Never forget that. A hero. First time in my life anyone had called me a hero. I left the office and took a cab home. The Civic was impounded as evidence. During the ride, I kept thinking about everything that had happened. 12 hours ago, I was just another rideshare driver trying to pay the bills. Now I was a key witness in one of the biggest financial crimes in the country. When I got home, I called my ex-wife and told her everything. She was terrified about the threats to the kids. We agreed that they would stay with her for a few days until things calmed down. I threw myself on the bed and tried to sleep. but I couldn't stop thinking about something the detective had said. Now, the hard part begins. What the hell did he mean by that? I found out the next day when I woke up to my phone ringing. It was an unknown number. Hello? You made a very serious mistake yesterday, Mike. You made a very serious mistake yesterday, Mike. The voice on the other end of the line was calm, but icy. It wasn't John. It was someone I had never heard before. Who are you? I asked, already feeling that familiar chill down my spine. Someone who doesn't like it when our business is interrupted by inconvenient people. Crap. They already knew I had cooperated with the police. Look, I didn't do anything wrong. I just told the truth. The truth? The guy laughed. Mike, you don't even know half the truth. What are you talking about? I'll see you in the city center in 2 hours. 1 Main Street, 1247, Suite 503. Come alone. I'm not going anywhere. The police told me not to. You're going to want to come, believe me. I have some things to show you that will change your perspective on everything. The call ended. I stood there, holding the phone, thinking about what to do. Call Detective Smith? Ignore it? Flee? The city? But curiosity got the better of me. What was this truth that I didn't know? 2 hours later, I was in front of an office building in the city center. Go up or not go up? If it was an ambush, I was screwed. But if it really was someone with information, I decided to go up. Suite 503 had a discreet sign. Andrade and Associates Legal Consulting. It looked legitimate. I rang the doorbell. A man of about 50 opened the door. An expensive suit, slicked back hair, that look of a successful lawyer. Mike, come in, please. The office was fancy. A mahogany desk, a bookshelf full of law books, a framed diploma on the wall. Nothing that looked criminal. Have a seat? He pointed to a leather armchair. Can I get you some coffee? Who are you, and what do you want? Dr. Andrade, criminal defense attorney, and I want to help you. Help me how? He opened a folder and spread some papers on the table. Mike, do you have any idea what really happened yesterday? The FBI arrested a gang of fraudsters. No, he shook his head. The FBI set up an operation against you. What do you mean, against me? He showed me the first document. It was a letterhead from the FBI. Investigation report. Read the name of the main suspect. I read it and almost fell out of my chair. Mike Williams, main facilitator of the Golden Pyramid International Criminal Organization. That's a lie, I shouted. I'm a victim. Calm down, he said. Let me explain how they built the case. Against you. He showed me another document. It was a detailed report with dates, times, locations. In the last 6 months, you made exactly 47 rides for members of the Golden Pyramid Organization. But I didn't know they were. You transported money, documents, flash drives with victim data. On at least 12 occasions, you delivered sealed envelopes to specific addresses. I remembered those rides. I thought they were just normal documents. Mike, he continued, do you have any idea how much money passed through your hands without you knowing? How much? $2.3 million. $2,300,000. I thought I was transporting paper. But how do they know that? Because they tapped your phone, intercepted your conversations, and photographed every delivery you made. He showed me the photos. They were pictures of me delivering envelopes, receiving bags, talking to people I thought were normal passengers. In these photos, you look like you know exactly what you're doing. It was true. In the pictures, I looked like a guy knowingly making criminal deliveries. Dr. Andrade, I swear I didn't know anything. I believe you, Mike, but the district attorney isn't going to believe you. He opened another folder. Formal indictment against you. 11 counts, conspiracy, money laundering, aggravated fraud, crime against the financial system. I read quickly. Each crime had a sentence. Summed up, it was almost 30 years in prison. 30 years, I mumbled. In practice, with good behavior, you'd serve about 12 years. But that's 12 years of your life, Mike. 12 years. My kids would grow up without a dad. When I got out of prison, Matt would be 22, Anna 20. But I cooperated with them. I told them everything. Exactly. And you know why you cooperated? Because I wanted to do the right thing. No, he smiled coldly. Because they offered you a plea deal. You turn in your accomplices and you get a reduced sentence. What accomplices? I don't have any accomplices. Mike, do you know any other drivers who made suspicious rides? I thought about the guys at the taxi stand. Dave had mentioned some strange rides. Mark, too. A few? Exactly. The FBI expects you to turn them all in. And if you don't, he didn't need to finish. Dr. Andrade, what do I do? First, you need to understand that you are no longer a victim in this story. You are a defendant, and a defendant needs a defense. Defendant. The word echoed in my head like a gunshot. Second, he continued, you need to decide whether you're going to continue cooperating with the FBI or if you're going to properly defend yourself. What's the difference? If you continue to cooperate, you will be forced to turn in innocent people just like you. Drivers who were also used without knowing. You will destroy the lives of entire families. I didn't want to do that. And if I don't cooperate, then you'll go to prison for 12 years. But at least you'll have a clear conscience. Damn, what a terrible choice. There's a third option, he said, lowering his voice. What? You disappear, vanish, go to another state, change your name, start a new life. What about my kids? Unfortunately, you'd have to leave them with their mother, at least temporarily. Leave my kids? Never. Dr. Andrade, how much do you charge to defend me? $150,000. $150,000. That was more money than I had ever seen in my life. I don't have that kind of money. I imagine not. But I have a proposal. Here came the catch. What? My clients can finance your defense. In exchange, you do some work for them. What kind of work? Nothing illegal, just information. You have privileged access to the FBI investigation. It would be useful to know what direction things are going. In other words, he wanted me to spy on the police for the criminals. Guys, imagine the feeling of discovering that you were used without knowing, that you became a suspect in crimes you didn't even know existed, and that now you had to choose between becoming a snitch or spending 12 years in prison. I need to think, I said. Of course, but don't take too long. The formal indictment comes out next week. After that, your options become more limited. I left the office with my head spinning. On the street, I called Detective Smith. Detective, I need to talk to you urgently. Mike, what happened? I just found out I'm a suspect, not a witness. Silence on the other end. Where did you hear that? A lawyer. Showed me the documents. Dr. Andrade. Damn it, Mike, he shouted. I told you not to talk to anyone. He said he has proof that I transported $2 million without knowing it. It's true. That's why you need to cooperate with us. It's your only chance not to go to jail. But he said you want me to turn in innocent drivers. Mike, listen carefully. You have two options. Either you cooperate completely with us, or you go to jail with John's crew. There's no middle ground. The call ended, and I stood there on the sidewalk, in the middle of downtown, thinking about the mess my life had become. This morning, I woke up thinking I was a hero. Now I found out I was a suspect for being a gang leader. And the worst part of all, when I got home, there was an envelope under the door. Inside, a photo of my kids leaving school, and a note. Dr. Andrade's offer still stands. think it over. That's when my ex-wife called me, hysterical. Mike, some foreign men showed up at the school asking for the Yuchuifi kids. Mike, some foreign men showed up at the school asking for the kids. My heart stopped. It literally stopped. What do you mean, foreigners? I screamed into the phone. Two guys, one with a Spanish accent. They said they were your friends and wanted to give the kids a surprise? Crap. Now there were international criminals in this mess. Christine, grab the kids and get out of there now. Go to your mom's house. Mike, you're scaring me. What's going on? There was no time to explain. The guys had already gotten to the kids. I'll tell you later. Grab the kids and get out. Now! I hung up and ran into the street. I flagged down the first cab I saw. FBI office, for God's sake. It's an emergency. The cab driver looked at my desperate face and floored it. During the drive, my head wouldn't stop. How did they get to my kids so fast? And who the hell were these foreigners? I got to the office, running like a madman. Detective Smith was leaving when he saw me. Mike, what happened? Foreigners at my kids' school, asking for them. He pulled me inside and closed the door to his office. Tell me everything. I told him about Christine's call, the envelope with the photo, the meeting with Dr. Andrade. Son of a bitch. He punched the table. I told you not to talk to anyone. Detective, who are these foreigners? He sighed deeply and opened a drawer. He pulled out a thick folder. Mike, it's time for you to know the whole truth. What truth? Golden Pyramid isn't just a domestic organization. It's an international network, all over Latin America. He showed me a map on the wall. There were red dots scattered across several countries. Argentina, Colombia, Chile, Peru, Mexico. They operate in 12 countries. It's billions of dollars, Mike. Billions. Billions! I thought it was just a small-time pyramid scheme. And the guys who showed up at the school? Probably Colombian thugs. The organization uses them to solve problems. Thugs. Professional hitmen. After my kids. Detective, I need the protection you promised. Mike, I'm going to be straight with you. The protection we can offer is limited. 2 agents during the day, 1 security guard at night. But these guys are professionals. What does that mean? That if they really want to get you, or get your kids, they will. I felt my world fall apart. So I'm screwed? Not necessarily. There is one way out. What? Federal protection program, new identity, new city, new life. For you and your kids. And my ex-wife? Her too, if she wants. But Mike, once you enter the program, there's no going back. You officially cease to exist. Cease to exist. As if I had died. For how long? About 5 years at least. Until the ringleaders are arrested and convicted. 5 years. My kids would grow up without being able to see their grandparents, their aunts and uncles, their friends. Is there another option? I asked, desperate. There is, but you're not going to like it. Tell me. You. Become an official informant, an undercover agent inside the organization. Undercover? They know me. Not all of them. John was just a small fish. There are guys higher up in the hierarchy who have never seen you. He showed me photos of other suspects. Men in suits, fake smiles. That look of a successful businessman. This is Mark, the head of the operation in this country. This is the doctor who you met yesterday. And this one, he showed me a photo of an older guy. White hair, glasses. Don Ramirez, the head of the entire operation. Colombian. He lives in a mansion in Medellin. And what would I do as an undercover agent? You'd get close to the people who are still at large. Pretend you want to join the scheme. You'd record conversations, photograph documents, find out how the international operation works. That's suicide. Maybe, But it would be for 6 months at most, and then you get lifetime protection. 6 months pretending to be a criminal, 6 months risking my life and my kids' lives. Mike, he continued, if you cooperate this way, we can dismantle the entire network. It's 12 countries, hundreds of thousands of victims, hundreds of thousands. How many people had lost everything because of these guys? And if I refuse both options? Then you go to prison for the crimes you supposedly committed, and your kids are left unprotected. Crap. All the options were bad. I left the office without giving him an answer. I needed to think. On the way home, I stopped at a bar and ordered a drink. First time in my life I drank during the day. I sat there thinking about the options. Witness protection, a new life, but no past. Undercover, 6 months of risk, but then freedom. Prison, 12 years away from my kids. All of them sucked. That's when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mike? This is a TV reporter. I have some questions about your involvement with Golden Pyramid. A reporter? How did they get my name? I have nothing to say. Mike, we already know you were the gang's official driver. You transported millions in dirty money. Do you want to give your side of the story? I wasn't a gang driver. We have photos of you delivering briefcases, a video of you talking with the bosses. It's airing tonight at 8. The call ended. Crap. It was going to be on TV. Everyone was going to know. I quickly called Christine. Chris, don't let the kids watch TV tonight. Why? They're going to air a story about me. Lies. But it's going to be on. What lies? Saying I'm a criminal. Silence on the other end. Mike, are you a criminal? Her question broke my heart. No, Chris, I was used, but I'm not a criminal. Then why is the TV? It's complicated. I'll explain in person. I got home and turned on the news, and there it was, my photo on the screen with the caption, "The Pyramid Driver." The reporter spoke as if I were the gang's leader. He showed the photos of the deliveries, said that I had illegally enriched myself, that I was the right-hand man of the fraudsters. My phone started ringing non-stop. Neighbors, relatives, acquaintances, everyone wanted to know if it was true. I stopped answering. At 10 p.m., Christine showed up at my door with the kids. The kids can't stay at my mom's house, she said. The neighbors found out, and they're making comments. What kind of comments? That you're a thief, that the kids are the children of a gangster. Children of a gangster. My kids being called children of a gangster. Daddy, Anna tugged on my pants. Is it true you stole money? My heart shattered. My 8-year-old daughter thinking her dad was a thief. No, my love. Daddy didn't steal anything. Daddy was just driving the car. Then why are they saying those things? How do you explain to a child that the world is sometimes unfair? That sometimes good people are accused of things they didn't do? Because there are bad people who want to hurt Daddy. Was the best I could come up with. That night, I put the kids to sleep in my bed. Christine slept on the sofa. No one said much, but everyone was scared. In the middle of the night, I woke up to a noise in the street. I went to the window and saw a van parked in front of the building. 2 guys inside looking at my apartment. I woke Christine up. There are people watching us. She looked out the window and went pale. Mike, I'm scared. Me too. That's when I made my decision. The next morning, I called Detective Smith. Detective, I accept. Accept? What? To be an informant. Undercover. Whatever you want. But in exchange, total protection for my family. Mike, are you sure? There's no going back. I am. But with one condition. What? If something goes wrong and I die, you guarantee that my kids will grow up knowing their dad wasn't a criminal, that their dad died trying to arrest the real criminals, Silence on the other end. Okay, Mike. When do you want to start? Today. Because I had realized one thing. No matter which option I chose, my old life was over. Either I ran and became someone else, or I went to jail and became a convict, or I became a spy and risked becoming a corpse. At least as an undercover agent, I was fighting for my kids, and for all those hundreds of thousands of victims. And who knows, in the end, I could prove my innocence and get my life back. But first, I had to survive the next 6 months. And man, if you think it's been tense so far, wait until you see what happened when I started working. As a spy, because these international criminals were no joke. The first test came the next day, when my doorbell rang and I opened the door to a guy who said, "Mike, I'm a friend of John's. He told me about you from jail. Want to make 100 grand? Mike, I'm a friend of John's. He told me about you from jail. Want to make 100 grand? Man, my heart pounded when I heard that offer. It was exactly what the FBI had predicted. The guys were going to try to recruit me again. The guy at my door was different from John. Older, about 50, a more discreet suit, but that same air of someone who had money, and that same fake smile I knew so well. "Who are you?" I asked, feigning suspicion. "My name is Charles. I'm a partner of John's in other businesses. Can I come in?" I let him in, but kept the door ajar. The recorder the FBI had given me was on in my shirt pocket. "Charles, look, I'm in a complicated situation. The news said I'm a criminal. The police are on my case." "Exactly." He got excited. "That's why you're perfect for what I need." "What do you mean?" "Mike, the police have already burned you. Everyone thinks you're guilty anyway. So why not take advantage and make some real money?" The criminal logic, since everyone considered me a criminal, why not become a real criminal? "What kind of work?" I asked, getting into character. He sat on my sofa, looked around the simple apartment. "You need the money, right? I can see you're not swimming in cash." "I do, but I don't want any more trouble with the police." "Relax. This work is different. The police won't even find out." He opened a briefcase. There was about $50,000 in cash inside. "This is just an advance," he said, "to show you we're serious." $50,000 in front of me. It was more money than I had ever seen at once. For a second, I almost forgot I was an undercover agent. "What do I have to do?" "Simple. You're going to go back to working as a driver, but now you'll be aware that you're transporting our materials." "What kind of materials?" "Money, documents, sometimes some special people." "Special people? Probably other fraudsters." "And how much do you pay?" $10,000 a month plus 5% on whatever amount you transport. 5% on the amounts. If I transported 1 million, I would make 50 grand in commission. "Charles, how do I know you won't leave me high and dry like you did with John?" He laughed. "John was stupid. He got too involved. He wanted to show off too much. You're just going to be the driver. Discreet, efficient, invisible. Invisible. Perfect word." "Okay, I'm in." He smiled and pushed the briefcase towards me. "Great. Your first delivery is tomorrow. I'll send you the address by text message." After he left, I immediately called Detective Smith. It worked. They recruited me. "Perfect, Mike. Did you record everything?" "I did. And look, they gave me a 50 grand advance. Keep it safe. It's physical evidence." For the next 3 months, I became the gang's official driver. Again. But this time, consciously. And recording everything. I transported briefcases with millions in cash. I drove people to secret meetings. I overheard conversations about international operations. I witnessed threats, blackmail, even a murder plot. Every ride was a huge risk. If they found out I was recording, I was a dead man. But it was also the only chance to clear my name and protect my family. The most important operation was when they sent me to pick up a guy at the airport. A direct flight from Medellin. It was Don Ramirez, the head of the International Pyramid. The guy got off the plane like a normal businessman. An expensive suit, an executive briefcase, even discreet bodyguards. But when he got into my car, he showed who he really was. "Are you the driver that John found?" he asked, with a heavy Spanish accent. "That's me, sir." "Good. I need someone trustworthy here." John was too flashy. During the ride from the airport to the hotel, he made calls in Spanish. I understood a few words. He was organizing the expansion of the pyramid to other states. "Driver," he called to me, "how many friends do you have who drive rideshare?" "A lot, sir." "Good. We're going to need a fleet. 50 cars, 50 drivers. A big operation. 50 drivers. They wanted to turn the entire profession into a transportation mafia. When I got home that night, there was news waiting for me. Christine called me, euphoric. "Mike, it's on the news. They arrested 30 more people from the gang." It was true. The FBI had used the information I gave them to carry out a huge operation. They arrested Charles, Dr. Andrade, and several others I didn't even know. "And there's more," she continued. "The detective wants to talk to you urgently." I rushed to the office. Detective Smith was smiling like a kid on Christmas morning. "Mike, you're a hero, man. The recordings you made are pure gold." He showed me a pile of arrest warrants. "Based on your work, we got warrants for 200 more people in 8 countries. The entire network is going down. 200 people. The scale of the thing was absurd. And me? Am I free of the charges? Completely free. More than that, you're going to receive compensation from the state for damages. $500,000. $500,000. That was money to start a new life the right way. And Don Ramirez? Arrested last night at the hotel. He's going to be extradited to the United States. There, he'll face charges for international money laundering. I felt an enormous relief. The head of the operation was in jail. "Detective, what now? Can I go back to my normal life?" "You can, but I recommend you move. There might always be some vengeful person out there." Move. That's what I was thinking anyway. I left the office and went straight to pick up the kids from school. For the first time in months, I didn't look around for suspicious cars. "Daddy!" Anna ran to hug me. "The teacher at school said you're a hero." A hero. This time for real. It's true, my love. Daddy helped arrest some very bad men. "And now, can we live together again?" Matt asked. I looked at Christine, who was standing there with a shy smile. "We'll talk about that," she said. That night, Christine and I talked until late. About everything that had happened. About the mistakes. About the chance to start over. "Mike," she said, "I never doubted you were innocent. But I was scared. I understand. I would have been too. So what now? What do you want to do?" "I want to leave this city. Start over. In a smaller, quieter town. Open my own business." "What kind of business?" "A mechanic shop. I've always liked working on cars, and with the compensation I can set up a nice shop." She smiled. "What about us?" she asked softly. "That's up to you. If you want to try again." "I do," she said, hugging me. "But in a new town, far away from all this madness." 3 months later, we were living in a small town. I bought a house on a quiet street, opened a shop in the center of town, and put the kids in a good private school. Mike's Auto became well known in the town. Honest work, fair prices, great service. In 1 year, I already had 3 employees. Christine went back to school, took a business course, and became my partner in the shop. The kids grew up without any trauma, making new friends, living a normal kid's life. Every now and then, a news story would pop up about the Golden Pyramid trial. John got 15 years. Don Ramirez got 25 years in the United States. Hundreds of others received smaller sentences. And most importantly, they managed to recover $320 million, which was returned to the victims. It wasn't all the stolen money, but it was something. 2 years after the move, I was at the shop fixing a car when a client walked in who chilled my blood. It was John, thinner, with graying hair, simple clothes. He no longer looked like the successful executive from before. "Hey, Mike," he said calmly. My hand shook. I grabbed a wrench, just in case. "How did you find me?" "It wasn't hard. Mike's Auto, new town. You became famous in the town. What do you want?" He smiled, but it wasn't that manipulative smile from before. It was a tired smile. "I want to apologize." "Apologize?" I didn't expect that. Apologize for what? For ruining your life, for threatening your kids, for using you. He sat down on a stool in the shop. "You know, Mike, in jail, I had time to think about the harm I did, the lives I destroyed. Not just yours, but thousands of people's. So what? So I want to try and fix at least one thing. You." He took an envelope out of his pocket. "These are the names and addresses of all the people who lost money because of me around here. 847 people. A total of $23 million. I took the envelope, suspicious. "Why are you giving me this?" "Because you became respected in this town. People trust you. If you organized a movement to try to recover that money..." "John, they already recovered millions. It was on the news. Not all of it. There's a lot of hidden money still. In offshore accounts, properties under fake names. I know where everything is." He looked me in the eyes. "Mike, I can help you recover that $23 million for the victims around here. As a form of, I don't know, atonement." I was silent, processing the offer. "Why would you do that?" "Because I want to sleep in peace. And because you showed me that there's an honest life after crime." I looked out the shop window. My kids were playing in the backyard. My wife was organizing papers in the office. My new life, clean, honest. "John," I said, "I don't want to get involved with this anymore. I built a new life here." He nodded, understanding. "I figured you'd say that, but keep the papers, if you ever change your mind." He stood up to leave, but stopped at the door. "Mike, you saved a lot of people by reporting us, but you mainly saved yourself. You continued to be a good person, even when the whole world thought you were a criminal." "John," I called out. Before he left, "What are you going to do now?" "Work. Simple life. I have a job at a bakery nearby. I wake up at 4 a.m., bake bread, go home, watch TV, sleep. A normal person's life." He smiled again, this time sincerely. "It's a good life, Mike. Different, but good." After he left, I kept thinking about the conversation. Can people really change? Was John really sorry? Or was it just another manipulation? I decided it didn't matter. My life was good the way it was. I didn't need any more. Adventure. I put the envelope in a drawer and went back to working on the car. Today, 5 years later, I still live in that quiet town. The shop has grown. It's a network with 3 locations. The kids are in their teens, studying, making plans for the future. Christine and I got married again, in a simple ceremony with family and friends. Every now and then, when I tell this story to friends, they ask if I regret anything. The answer is no. Because despite all the suffering, all the tension, all the fear, this experience taught me valuable lessons. First, that greed can destroy anyone. If I had invested that $5,000 in Golden Pyramid, I'd be broke today, just like thousands of other people. Second, that doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Cooperating with the police saved me and saved a lot of other people. Third, That family is what really matters. All the money in the world isn't worth the peace of sleeping next to the people you love. And fourth, that second chances exist, but only for those who have the courage to truly change. Today, when a client at the shop tells me about some miracle investment that came into their life, I always give them the same advice. If it seems too good to be true, it's because it's not true. And if you've made it this far with me on this crazy journey, I hope you've learned what I learned. There's no easy money in this world. There's honest work, family, true friends, and the satisfaction of sleeping with a clear conscience. And that, my friends, is priceless. The envelope that John gave me is still in the drawer. Sometimes I think about opening it, about trying to help those 847 victims recover their money. But then I look out the window. I see my kids playing, my wife smiling, and I think, I've done my part. Now it's time to live in peace.